Welcome back, guys. Chris here. In the last one, we were able to register a user, we were able to log them in, and now we can get the token. So in this one, we are going to go ahead and work on the contact CRUD. So it should be fun. Let's go ahead and get started. So right here in the application, I'm going to create an app. So here, Python 3, manage.py, start app. So this one is going to be called contacts. Okay, so that creates our app. First thing we need to do is add it to our settings.py app section. Otherwise, the models won't be able to, the migrations won't be able to work. So here, add contacts. Okay, so once we have that, let me actually bring back our server. So once we have that, now we need to go to our app and then we need to work in the model. So here we are going to set up a model, and this is going to be representing all the information about the contact. So class contact, it's convention that you use the Python class naming conventions, so call it contacts like that. So we're gonna inherit from models. You guess this one, it's gonna be model models.model. Okay, so here now we need to define our attributes. So the first thing that we need to do is to know who owns this contact. So I'm gonna set up an owner. So this is gonna be equal to models.foreign key. So the foreign key, now we define a 2. So a 2 basically represents who owns this. So now let's bring in our user model. So from Django contrib .auth .models import user. So now the 2 will be to a user, and then the second one is we define an on delete. So on delete basically defines what happens when like a user is deleted. So when a user is deleted, we would want their contacts also be removed because no one will be owning them anymore. So here we can do models cascade. So that will delete the instances. So the next thing we need to define, actually remove this one here a bit, is going to be basically the contact details. So one of the things that I want to set up is the country code, just so we can know where they come from. Great. So country underscore code. So this is going to be models.charfield max length. So now we can set this one to be 30. I think that's reasonable. So the next thing, let me actually copy this and bring them down. So we're going to save the first name, the last name, and then the phone number itself. So phone underscore number. All right, so let's now change these ones a bit. So the phone numbers, I'm gonna change. Okay, let me actually first add some these here. So I'm gonna change the phone number to be like I think 30 is reasonable enough. Anyway, you can always adjust these. So these basically will represent what a contact would look like. Then I want to set up like a contact picture. So contact picture. So this is gonna be a URL field. So models.url field. And then basically when a user creates the contact, sometimes they may not have the picture. So you can pass null equals true. That's gonna allow them to create it without having a picture. Okay, so the next thing I want us to do is have a list of contacts that the user has favorited. So let me set up a property called is favorited. By the way, guys, where you come from, how do you write favorited? Is it favorited or favorited? Like this. You can comment down it. But for me, where I am, we can do this. It's entirely fine. So this now will be models. It's gonna be a boolean, and we're gonna set a default value. So by default, all contacts are not going to be favorited, but the user can favorite them when they're editing. Okay, so once we have this, we now can migrate we can make migrations and migrate this information. So here I'm gonna do Python manage.py, make migrations, and of course it should be Python 3. Okay, so that creates the migration. Then we need to migrate just so it takes effect in our relations or tables, and those are the same, guys. Not migrations, but migrate. Sorry. Okay, so that creates our tables and everything. Just rerun the server. So now we basically need to add like our CRUD functionality. All right, so let's go to our contacts. We need to set up one or two things. So like you already know, we need the URLs py. The other thing, we are going to need what? The serializer class. So here, so serializers py. Let's start in the views. Here we are going to need a view to handle the creation, the deletion, the separate views to handle creation, deletion, updating one, viewing one, and all that stuff. So now I'm going to be using some high-level classes. Actually, let me just jump in. So from REST framework .generics import. So the first one is going to be list create API view. Another one is going to be retrieve, update, destroy. Okay, so this basically are high level, and basically we all know for the most of the like operations we do like on your database, we basically have to do common things all the time. So what these do is they abstract away all the common things you need to do. So this one here will handle two things: the creation of an instance of a contact, and also this one, the creation and also the retrieving of a list of contacts. So this one is going to handle retrieving one, updating one, and deleting one. Okay, so right here, let's set up one to do the list. So class, I'm going to call it contacts list. Contact list. So it's going to inherit from list create. In here, we basically don't do a lot. So first of all, we need a way to create. So by default, when it's going to create an instance, it's going to need some information. So first of all, we are going to map it to our model, of course, from the serializer, but that won't be enough. Since every user will need to have their own contacts, we need to tell it what to save when it comes to this field. Okay, so for us to do that, we are going to override a method called perform create. So def perform create. Okay, so right here, now we need to tell it how it should create the instance. So now if we hook into this, we can be able to tell it to use the current user for the owner. So serializer, then we call save, and then you call owner. So this one will be the request.user. Okay, so this should be self.request.user. Okay. So what this will do is it's going to add the owner to be the current logged in user. Okay, good. So another thing we need to do is to tell it how to return our results, because if you think about our model, it's going to be containing all the contacts for everyone in the world. So how do we get the ones for the current logged in user? So you might have guessed it, we need to override another method. So the one we are going to override is called get query set. Get underscore query set. So now in here, basically I want to return a query. We basically want to return something that returns a query set. So here, do return. So now we are going to use our model, which we haven't brought in. So let me bring it in here. So from .models, import contact. Okay, so the query set is going to be contact.objects.filter, because we want the user to only get their own. Then we want filter by the owner. So the owner is going to be, you guessed it, self.request.user. I say you guessed it because we did the same thing here. Okay, so that will do the job, and believe me when I say it will do the job. The last thing we are going to need to do is set up a serializer and then write one more line of code and be set with all these things. And I know you might not be believing me, but in the serializer.py, let's import the model serializer. So from REST framework .serializers, import model serializer. So let's also import our model. So from .models, import contact. Okay, so once we have the imports, now we can set up a serializer class. So class contact serializer. It's gonna inherit from model serializer. So in here, now we need to define our meta. So class meta should be caps, but not all caps, of course. So meta here, now we can define our model. Since we are in a model serializer, this is gonna be contact. And then we define our fields. So the fields can be a list or a tuple. So fields now will be our fields. So I remember we have country code, we have first name and last name. So it's gonna be last name, phone number, alright. So the picture URL and its favorite. Okay. So let me put a comma here. Now we can put picture URL and then is favorite is underscore favorite. Let me see how I wrote that. Yep. This is contact picture. Okay. Contact picture. His favorite, I believe, is okay. Let's look at the phone number. Okay, looks good. Alright, so that's all we need to do there. Now come back to our view. Here we need to set up a serializer class. So serializer class. And now this is going to be basically our serializer. So let's import it. Import contact serializer. Alright, so here now we can set it to contact serializer. So once we have that, now basically this will do the job for creating and listing all. So now we also want to make sure that these endpoints will require someone to be authenticated. For a user to be able to create or view contacts, they need to be authenticated. So right here, we are going to add some permissions. So permission underscore classes. So this is going to be equal to, let me actually bring in permissions from REST framework. So from REST framework, import permissions. So it's going to be permissions is authenticated. So this will make sure that for a user to be able to access this, they will have to be authenticated. So now let's go ahead and set up our detailed view. So copy this. I'm going to duplicate it because it's going to be a lot similar too. But now in this one, we are going to have a view that will do like listing one, updating one, deleting one, and all that stuff. So we have already imported one from our generics. So we're going to use this. So let's bring it in. I'm going to rename this to contact detail view. Alright, so here we are going to keep the serializer. The permissions are good. But then you notice that we basically don't need the create because we are not like directly creating. So now the extra thing we need to give it here is the lookup field. So let me actually add it, then we talk over it. So lookup underscore field, and this is going to be the ID. You might know that when we are like viewing a single contact, we need to view it by something that uniquely identifies it in our database. So we are going to be using the ID. So that means that when a user is giving a URL like contacts, should be contacts /1, Django is going to pick this and then query it against all the IDs in the database. So that for it to get that one instance, it's gonna query it like select all from blah 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 where the ID is 1, something like that. Okay. So that should be select all from contacts where the ID is 1. So the lookup field will be the ID. So once we have that, we need to, of course, to register it in our urls.py. So let me see. So in here, I'm actually going to bring in going to copy some things in authentication because we've done this before. Let's come over here. And then I'm going to have the index route go to contact list. And then I'm going to have the detail one. So now the detail, let me actually format it first. So this is going to be int ID. So basically we'll be casting the ID to be an integer because we already know it's going to be an integer, because that's how Django works with the primary keys. So here we also need to import the detail view, and now we pass the detail view. So now what this will do is it's basically going to look for in our authentication, and then it's going to look for, it's going to try to match this. So for us to be able to match this, now here in our main application routing here, we basically need to bring in our contacts. So this is going to be API/contacts. Okay, so that will go to contacts URLs, not contacts, contacts URLs. So now what will happen is, where is the URLs? It's going to map like /contacts to this, and then /contacts/something else to this. All right, so let's go back to our Postman and test it out. So right here, I'm going to now come to /contacts, and then let me try to get. If I click the request, oh, so we have an issue. Base permission is not iterable. Okay, so actually these are the same errors we keep getting. So here we need to make sure we have a comma there. Let's try again. Not iterable. So I think this is up here, since we copied and pasted. Alright, so let's try again. Okay, so you see that the authentication credentials were not provided. So let's now log in. So here I'm gonna copy this. So this is gonna be /API. I'm gonna keep the auth things here, /login. Not dot. How did you call it? Interesting. Do we have API? So let's post there. So the issue was we needed to add a trading slash. So let's also add it here. Okay, so now you see we log in and get a token. Now here, I'm going to add another one. This is gonna go /API/contact. And we already know if you execute this, you should be able to get this error. So now let's try to submit to provide our token. Okay, so let's pick it here. Copy it, come over here, provide it, and then you see we get an empty array. So let's try posting to this without submitting anything. Okay, so that should be okay, so now we have an error. So this is con number contact which is not valid. So I think we are quite not adding a comma somewhere. So let's check on that. Let me do a search. Oh, it's not finding. Interesting. So let's look here. So this is saying improperly configured. Phone number, contact picture. Let's look in the serializers. It should be contact serializers. Phone number. We need a comma here. All right. Okay, so let's add that and try again. Send. Now you see we get our errors. So now if we come in here in the body, in row, then JSON. Now let's try to submit this. So let's try to submit a code. So like 236, the first name is John. The last name is, you guessed that guy. This one, and then the number. Let's say the number is 7 blah 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 7 what. Okay, so let's format this one properly. And of course this should be on one line. Oh, we need the closing bracket, sorry. So now if we send this, you notice that we get a 201 and we get the object. The contact picture is not saved, and then right here, if we send like So you see its favorite was set to true, but then if we send it, let's say we send the picture and its favorite, its favorite is gonna be false here. I'm gonna pick a picture. So if now I supply like something that's not a URL, should be able to give us an error. So let me format this one properly. Oh, we need a comma here. So if we send this, you notice that we get an error that the URL is not valid. So if we pick a valid URL, so let's say the URL is correct. Let's say it's something like https avatars.github.com/christstory.png. So let's say it's something like this. If they submit, you can see that it's created and everything is. I'm going to be pausing the video here. In the next one, I'm going to come in and we document our API and we call it an API. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye.